Hi, it's Karen from Black Swan Journals, and I'm back to share a sweet little medium-sized fairy journal. I've made this journal from some vintage supplies that I had on hand, and the vintage fairies that you see are from Gina Makes It. She has lovely digitals, and the one I used with the fairies is called Midsummer Magic. I used a few others too. I'll tell you what they are as we go through. But the front cover, so the whole thing is made out of two envelopes, 5x7 craft envelopes that I stamped and decorated. And then the rest of it is papers that were scrapbook papers that I painted the white sides and then fashioned it all together in an accordion style and created pockets on one side of all of the pages while doing so. I didn't do any sewing in this journal. It's a really easy journal, no sewing required, and it's all just done with glue. The lace on the front, the pocket, is from a lace shirt that I bought in a thrift store, and I've been having fun cutting up and using it. And the ribbon is vintage seam binding I found in a thrift store. It's super thick and really pretty. There's the design team for Gina Makes It. And the button on the front, I actually just stitched, the embroidery floss in the button and then glued the button onto the paper. And this little journaling card, I did some stamping and then cut it out and pasted it on. Here, I like to sometimes separate my fussy cuts and create pockets so that when you pull out what's in the pocket, you see what used to be attached to the original image. I like to do that. I don't know, it's a thing. And yeah, it was fun to make the cover. I like how it turned out. I hope you do too. And inside, I had some dried roses that my husband gave me recently and just wanted to include them in there for some ephemera to remember. And that little butterfly, I fussy cut that out and added some scrapbook paper onto the back for writing space. And put some inking on the back of that tag to just make it more interesting. And did some collaging and stamping on the inside of the envelope there. And then here is another one of Gina's beautiful digitals that I turned into an envelope. And then I'm going to put something on the back of this, but I left it blank because I wanted to show you. Do you all use the magazine little leaflets, the little drop, the little advertisement flyers that drop out? Do you all use those? I love to use those. I usually find that they're porous and not glossy, so they take glue really well, which is always like more pleasurable when you're crafting, for me anyway. Yeah, so I love to use those and make journaling cards or whatever. And this journaling belongs to, I just glued down to a die cut. And then I die cut this peach piece of scrapbook paper and then strategically place that adorable little couple to show through the heart. And then I've been into doing like some ghost stamping lately, and if you're new, you basically stamp off like onto a scrap paper your first impression, and then your second one is what you're actually using. And it makes it much lighter, almost like a watermark. And then for me, I find that I enjoy writing over it. It's not, a full first image where it would be hard to write over. And I really like this spread. It just speaks to me. I think the colors, yeah, really love it. But yeah, I had a lot of fun painting the white sides of the scrapbook papers that I made all the pages with. And that was a watercolor I did and then cut all up for different pieces I was making ephemera pieces with, decorating ephemera pieces with actually. And I just love when you put the water down on watercolor and it disperses like that and it makes those like kaleidoscopy. So I included it in here for me to play with later. And here I fussy cut that out and glued it down over the pocket to sort of make like an arbor or an arch, you know, when you're walking under a beautiful flower arch. And then that little Make-A-Wish, I lost the A. Did you notice that? It's somewhere, I don't know, on my table. It's so tiny, I totally lost it. But I was going to glue it down for a Make-A-Wish, and I like to do that a lot as well in my journals. To, you know, sometime when I have a little wish for the universe or a prayer, I like to write it down there and paste it down in my journals. So this is an embossed piece of paper that I made a little journaling pocket out of, and then fussy cut one of the vintage digitals there and created a pocket, and had pieces of ephemera and some other digitals there to use and play with. And I love those little girls, those little ballerina fairies. Oh my gosh, how cute are they? I just absolutely love those. And on the backs of those, I've generally done some inking or stamping so that it's not just white. And here I used some scrap papers to create some journaling pockets. I had a big box of papers I tried to use up while I was making this journal. And just kind of got creative, at least for me, and made some interesting kind of collaged journaling cards. And here I made a little sort of jacket pocket for this journaling card that I made out of a lace doily. And here's the center of that first page. That peach heart came from that negative space from that peach journaling card on the first page, and thought it would be fun to use elsewhere in the journal. And here, I couldn't remember if this came out or if I glued it to the doily, and I glued it to the doily. But still, you can write all over the back. And I had a lot of fun with the number 3 in this journal. If you've seen some of my other videos, you might have, and I always love to strategically like line up negative space holes like that and center, you know, imagery on the inside. But if you've seen my other videos, you may have seen me mention the number 3 signifies creativity in numerology. So I always like to use that, you know, when I'm feeling creative, or to prompt me if I'm not feeling creative. And another thing I like to do is clean off my sponge daubers and make circles. I find it interesting, you know, no beginning, no end, a circle. And I find it interesting. I don't know, I'm drawn to them. And you can still journal right over it. And there's a lovely original envelope that I had in my stash. And in here I made this little journaling card. And I used those little like inexpensive craft scissors that cut edges, you know, decorative edges. And did throughout the journal now and then. And here I turned a book page into a double pocket and did some stamping with some cute little pine cones along the edge. And more of those little scissor accents there. And on the back, just a couple of journaling tags. I always like to keep one side of my tags legible, like somewhere where I can write and it will be legible. And then, of course, all the papers, plenty of writing space there. And over here, I had a lot of fun making this envelope out of a vintage encyclopedia. I'm going to show you that in a minute. Here's a lovely piece of poetry. I stamped it upside down. Late night crafting hazards. Oopsie. But hey, just flip it this way instead, and then it's not upside down, right? But yeah, lots of it's more ghost stamping on the back of that, so you can write right over it. And yeah, here's that envelope. I had a lot of fun making this, used up a lot of scraps and did some collaging. And it's pretty substantial. And I strategically glued down my scraps without covering it completely on the front so that you could see the original, book page, what I used. And on the inside also you can see. And it's just a nice reminder. And this is one of those Victorian era music sheet covers is the title of this journal kit. And I only used one, but I believe there's 4 that you get. And on the back, it's blank. I printed a William Morris on the back. That's not part of the kit, but I like to print both sides, or not print both sides. Print on one side and then do something myself on the back, like paint or stencil or whatever, stamp. And yep, just pointing out that I left the edge of the original page that I made the envelope out of, so it's interesting. And I like to leave the number. It had number 7, lucky number 7 up there. Just little things like that kind of amuse me or keep my attention, make me happy. So when you make your journals, think of what makes you happy and include little things like that. And it's never silly. Don't ever feel silly or anything like that. You don't even have to share it with anybody. So here I used another little negative where I punched some hearts to make some closures for policy envelopes. I have a video on that actually. And I love to keep the negatives, the little scraps, the waste, to use up later. And I did some collage with offcuts and scraps and made a little pocket for a label there. And here, another one of those magazine, little advertisements that fall out of the magazine. And what I do here is I use, see how these are all strips, rectangle strips here on the back? I actually glued those all on individually and then kind of inked over it lightly to blend, the butt edges together, and made a journaling card with scraps. And also did some stamping to make it fun and cohesive. I love this one from Gina, so pretty. Beautiful fairies. I do love fairies. I just love fairies. I heard that they can be mischief though, like they can be mischievous. I heard that. So I heard to be good to them. Be good to them. Make sure you have a door, a portal for them to come and go. Treat them well. Don't neglect them. Yeah, I learned that recently. But there's a little receipt I got from Hobby Lobby. I recently bought some fabric to make some curtains and embroider some curtains, some shears and some panels for my dining room. And I love little memorabilia like that. I love to include little ephemera bits like that. Reminds me what I'm doing, where I've been, things that made me happy. And later on, I'll probably snap a picture of the curtains and include it in this spread in the journal. So here's just some more little fun things. Made a little pocket with that little flower fussy cut. And little journaling card there. A little feather. And a little punched out pink floral looking fun piece of paper to decorate with. And up in the corner I had some scraps that I just made a little cluster with for interest. It also reinforces your pages if you have, papers that are weak. So yeah, I just made a little card there, and later on I'll probably do something really fun inside that card to distress or make the white more interesting. I don't mind white, but it's fun to play. So here I have a lovely turkey feather actually that used to be lovely, but it got a little frayed looking. Poor dear. And here's another waist piece that I have a die, and you're actually interested with this die in using the negative space for projects. So that piece I was just showing you is considered the waste in that example. At least to the manufacturer of it. But I found the waste piece awesome and useful, and glued one of the pretty digitals down to that and made a really cool journaling card. And on the other page, sometimes I have some things on my desk and I think, I just want to use this. I just want to use it up. And I had this like scrap piece of paper that was sort of like ripped into the letter L shape. So instead of like ripping it more or whatever, or putting it down that way and collaging with it, I just sort of folded over the small part of the L and see, this is what I'm talking about here, that the piece I just put down on the table, and just made like a little notebook cover that's missing half of its back. But I don't care, I'm just having fun and loving it, and loving paper, loving the imagery. It gives me creative places to journal about my life and things I've done or things I want to get off my chest and out of my heart and out of my head. You don't want ruminating thoughts in your head. Writing those thoughts down are an excellent way to release them from repeating in your mind, throughout the day, if that happens to you. So, yeah, I don't care. I just want a pretty creative place to write. So sometimes I do things like that. I just use it up. If it's for me, if it's a gift, I might consider the recipient. Will the recipient appreciate and understand, or will this frustrate them and they'll be like, what the heck? But yeah. And I love this one. I love that little, here's another book page, vintage book page, made a little double pocket. Here's a stamped image I did one day, and I moved my hand, and it was a wooden stamp, and this one too, both same deal, both stamps. And it got blurry. You know what I mean? Does that ever happen to you? And I was making something for a friend, and so I didn't want it to be blurry or secondhand, seconds looking. I wanted it to be like my heart was in it. So, but I kept them because I don't mind them. Again, the same thing I was just saying for me. So, and then I fussy cut them, and I can write on the back or paste them down. I love this little journaling card that says kindness. I had some more tiny scraps, and on the right there, the floral and the pink stripe, and I just love that stark contrast to the cream and the brown, that I inked on the torn edge. Just love that contrast. Do you like that? Anyway, next. Just using some more scraps of papers and making just little, haphazard little notebook here to journal on the back of all of these pretty papers, and on the front too of the ones that are light enough. Well, I guess I'm setting boundaries. um, and here's another offcut of a scrapbook paper that I just kind of inked up lightly. I'd like to clean off my daubers rather, and also sometimes I'll ink right onto papers like that, and it creates all those lines, and then I'll use it later for something to journal on. I wanted to mention you can't really use paper clips or staple or sew things in this style of journal. You can use the paper clip, but in order to flip the journal over and see the back, which I'm going to show you soon, you would need to remove the paper clip, and you'll see what I mean. It's a little paper doily here, and I made this pretty little. These always remind me, these colors, of like ice cream sundaes, that color pink and then the chocolatey chocolatey brown. They just remind me of ice cream sundaes. Makes me so happy. But yeah, I stamped on the doily, and I had another little bird negative die cut there that I glued on some tissue paper to give him a little, like, cockatoo little head. And I absolutely love this journaling pocket. That digital of Gina's there with the strawberry. Oh, it's so magical to me. I absolutely love it. This piece of ephemera I got here from a craft fair that I was in. And that lady, the paper moon, was the table next to me. She had the most lovely polymer clay jewelry. And I did buy some, and a barrette too. And I love this here. I did a video on this where I use butter packaging to make little flip outs like this, and other tags and bases to mass make to have on hand to make journals and ephemera with. And I love to glue them down like this and create pockets, and you can journal on one side or both sides. You can make the front really pretty, and the back could be where you write. You can also glue down like I did to make a pocket and writing space. And it's just interactive and fun. You know, like a pop-up storybook. I loved those as a kid. Did you like those? I still like those. And here's another embossed piece of paper I did some ink blending on, and then put some papers in for journaling. And these papers with the writing, the typing, are actually from the poem Lily's Migration, which is the front of the journal, the girl on the front. And oh man, I really love this one too. Absolutely love this one. I don't know where Gina got that one, but it's really beautiful. And that little bird I stamped and glued scraps down, and then I also did a couple colors on the tulip stamp, stamped that, and then fussy cut that and glued that down. I love to layer. I love to see the dimensions and the layers. And here I did on, I think, a greeting card or packaging, I did some painting, flat and metallics, and then glued down that die cut that I ran through a die cut machine, and a lovely piece of vintage crocheted doily there. And this girl on the back is from a kit from Gina called Eyes of Wonder. She's from Eyes of Wonder. And so now here we go. This is the back side of the journal. And if there was a paper clip, two of the pages would be stuck shut and you wouldn't be able to flip it. So you just have to take the paper clip off. But you couldn't like staple together or anything like that, or they'd be stuck when you go to flip the back. So here's some more of Gina's lovely fairy digitals that I made. Another double pocket with these vintage book pages and some pretties, and here are some scraps to pour my heart onto. And did some sort of linear collage work on the front with scrap pieces. And I don't know, lately I've been using these circle die cuts, and I just love the symbolism of a circle. And I just wanted to thank you if you're still here, and if you've returned to watch my videos. I've been really ill. It's the same thing that was happening before, if you've heard in my other videos. I don't know what it is still. I'm figuring it out though. I think I'm on the right path with the right doctor now. And yeah, I want to get back to full homeostasis, full health, and be here for you. And yeah, just wanted to share that with you. And also just wanted to show you there with my finger, you can glue that little part of the page shut, but if you don't, there is a little opening. And thank you for being here, and see you next time.